Hello beautiful and welcome back to my channel. I'm having some morning coffee. We are gonna do a get ready with me. It's in the morning, it's very sunny today and my hair is everywhere. I don't have any makeup on, but we're gonna put some makeup on and I'm gonna chat about 5 books that changed my life. Or at least changed the way I see books, changed the way I choose books, changed the way I read books, and changed the way I don't know, just books that I refer back to. Some of them I read over 20 years ago, and it's books that I still refer back to. And we're gonna talk about that today while I do my makeup. You've asked me a lot about like me and books, what I like to read, so that's what we're doing today. And if you haven't been here before, my name is Angie. Hello. I am a lover of fashion and makeup, especially colorful things. We are gonna play with some color, but I don't think I'm gonna talk about the makeup. But as always, everything's gonna be linked in the description box, including the books I'm gonna talk about. So let's dive in and don't forget to subscribe because I upload 5 videos a week. Let me see if I can get this situation. I just hate having hair in my makeup. Hate having hair in my makeup. Okay, the first book I want to talk about is a book that I actually don't have here with me. And I looked for it this morning and I'm like, where is this book? And I don't know if I lent this to someone. Like, it was only a pocketbook, so it's not like the end of the world. But yeah, I couldn't find it. And that is the book Pope Jon. In Swedish, I read it in Swedish, it's called Påven Johanna. It is basically, I mean, it is fiction. It is fiction, but it is there is I don't want to call it urban legend because this is literally like from the the golden days, but there is a legend within the Catholic Church, or not in the Catholic Church, maybe more in the conspiracy theories around the Catholic Church, that there was a female that pretended to be a male and ended up being the Pope. This book is all about that, and this book is like the fiction story about what that could be. It's such a good book. Like, it's such a good book. It's the only book I've ever read where I actually had to put the book down at one point and just have a good cry. It is an amazing book, and it really opened up my eyes towards what a book can be, what a book can mean, what a book can be about. I have heard that this book has become a movie, but I've heard that the movie is not good, which leads me to not want to see the movie because the book is so it's so good, and it's like, it's about how cruel the world can be and how unfair the world can be for women, not only back then but also now. Like, how many options are taken away from you and how you are expected to be fine with it. How you are expected to be fine with not being presented with as many options as a man. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful book. And I highly, highly, highly recommend you to read it. There's just a slight feminist, like, underlying stream without being a book about feminism, but it's just about like I said, the options that you have and not have as a woman, and how she was just not okay with that, how she had a plan of her own and she wasn't gonna let the world tell her what she could and couldn't do. And yeah, it's just a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it enough. And you have got to let me know down in the comments if you have any books that you keep recommending to people, because this Pope Jon is definitely a book that I recommended to so many people. Definitely been like, you need to read this. Everyone from my mom to my old co-workers to my friends, like so many people I've recommended this book to. It's just such a good and strong book, especially if you're a woman. I did a little bit of eyebrows and now I'm using some bronzer. I'm trying to use this bronzer up because it is a bit old and I'm almost done with it, so I'm setting my cream bronzer with this powder bronzer. Like I said, everything will be down in the description box. The next book I want to talk about is this book. This book I actually have here. This is the Holy Blood, Holy Grail. It's also in Swedish. This is a bit of a brick. All of these are pockets because I love taking books traveling, and I don't want to take a paperback traveling, so I always buy my books, almost always buy my books in a pocket. This is by Michael Benyon, or is it Michael Benyon? I'm not sure. Richard Leigh and Henry Lincoln. 3 writers. This isn't necessarily fiction. This is like in a hybrid. It's hard to explain without you like actually reading it. Sir? That is my dog, not my husband. It's hard to explain like exactly what it is without reading it, but this is the book. This is the book that is the book that inspired the Da Vinci Code. So if you've seen the Da Vinci Code, you pretty much understand what this book is about. It is fascinating, and this is, when I read this book, I finally, and this, if you're religious, don't take this as me bashing you. I'm not bashing you, but this book finally made me realize what my mom always told me growing up. God is one thing, religion is something else. They're not necessarily the same thing, because religion is made by men. For the first time, I understood what my mom meant when I read this book. I am so inspired by this book. I actually brought this book. I read this book when I was on a trip to a sunny vacation. So I was on the beach reading this pretty heavy book about the creation of Christianity and about like different kind of theories, and it's just very, very fascinating. It's not made up. This isn't a made up book, but it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but it made me realize so many things, and I'm so inspired by this book that I actually have a tattoo of one of the quotes from this book, which is Et in Arcadia ego, which is Latin. It is a memento mori, which is a reminder of one's mortality. And Et in Arcadia ego means even I in paradise, where I is death. So even in paradise, you will find death, meaning a reminder of everyone's mortality. It is a book that it shaped the way I see things. It shaped the way I question things. It truly meant a lot to me. And if you are inspired by not conspiracy theories, but history and the history of religion, and you are a bit open-minded, I do suggest this book. Like I said, it's not fiction, but it's also not like facts. It's like a hybrid. It is a truly fascinating book. It's as inspirational to me so that I actually like, again, made a tattoo out of it. I'm gonna use one of these, look at this imprint, one of these Moira blushes. This is the Soft Berry number 08. I do have the orange one as well, but I'm feeling like we're going this direction today. But yeah, I will say though that it is a little bit and there's like literally nothing on my brush. Oh my god. Okay. What am I doing with this? Send help. Okay, wait. I need to work with this. Oh my, this is an extremely pigmented blush, and I look like I'm about to be on like stage, theater stage. Oh boy. And it's not really that blendable either. Okay, I don't know how I feel about these yet. First impression, way too pigmented, and I went in the middle and it picked up a lot and it was just too pigmented. I'm gonna see if I can I'm just doing the other end and I'm going in the absolute lightest direction, and I'm seeing if I can blend over. But yeah, first impression, too pigmented and not that easy to blend out. But yeah, just first impression. I wasn't aware that it was this pigmented. I don't like blushes that are this pigmented. This does look just like a blotch. So I'm gonna have to go over this with highlighter. That was intense. That was intense. I'm gonna go over it with some highlighter. Sorry for the shouting, but I did not see that one coming. I did not see that one coming. We're gonna have to go over that with some highlighter just to make it not be that abrupt. Well, the jury is still out. Let's just put it like that. The jury is definitely still out. I'm gonna do some eye primer and then I'm gonna go into the next book. Okay, so I did some eye primer and I want to use this one today. This is the Lore palette by Alien Cosmetics. I don't know when this is I honestly have no idea when this is going up, but I filmed the Alien Cosmetics video yesterday and I was so in love with the Lore palette. I even told my friends if I can only use a palette like for a month, I'd be fine with this one. Or the Club Nebula, honestly, but this is so beautiful. It is 4 mattes. One of them is a black. Love that. And then there's 5 duochromes. It's swatch like a dream. Check back some of my, like, it's just a couple of videos back. I don't know exactly when, but I did a video and I swatched this and I used this and some other Alien Cosmetics. I want to use it again because I'm so excited. The next book I'm gonna mention, and this is number 3 in the trilogy, and I couldn't find number 1 or 2, but I found this one. And the next trilogy, I have it in English, and this one is... Listen, sometimes I read books in English and sometimes in Swedish. This is in Swedish. I read this trilogy in Swedish, but I recommend reading it in English because even if you're Swedish, because it is better in English. I think that's the thing. I think I read the first parts in English and the last one, I don't know. This is Robin Hobb and the Robin Hobb trilogy of the Far Seers. I think the first one is called The Assassin's Apprentice. And this is like the first fantasy book I ever read. I read as a kid, and that's Bilbo. Loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then this book I read when I was... how old was I? I want to say 17 or 18. But it is such a good fantasy book. And Robin Hobb is a taken like writer's name by a woman named, and I'm not mistaken, Margaret. And she took this name because she didn't want her other like writer's name to be mixed up with her name when she was writing fantasy, because she didn't want the 2 names to be, because she was writing so different things, if I'm not totally mistaken. So this fantasy series is written by a woman, and it has one of the most epic love stories ever. It is a wonderful love story in a very fantasy, without being too fantasy. It is a little bit like, listen, this is a little bit like Game of Thrones, but written by a woman. And it is absolutely wonderful. It is about a young boy that is poor, and he is a bastard, and he comes to the castle, and there's so many intrigues, and he's a bastard, so he's not even given a proper name. And it is just a wonderful, wonderful series about fantasy without being too fantasy. It is about friendship and love, and it's just a really, really, really well-written fantasy trilogy. And I'm using this very sparingly, by the way, because I want this to be a transition shadow. I don't want to pack it on, so I'm trying to be a bit more... I'm trying to ease in. I'm trying to ease in, but it's a really well-written fantasy. And when I read this book, I did not know that there was a woman behind the name Robin Hobb. But I remember thinking several times while reading it, there is something different about the way that this is written. It's something different about the way that this is, the way that things are described, the way that emotions and reactions are made. And I'm not saying that only a woman can do that, in no way, shape or form. But it's a bit different. It is a bit different in the way that it's written, and it's not necessarily about being a woman, it's just written in a more feminine way. Being feminine and being woman, it's not the same thing. One day I hope that these things will be separated. It's not the same thing, but it is a wonderful series, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. like, if you love fantasy and you for some reason have not read Robin Hobb, this is your call to action. What are you doing? And if you don't like fantasy, but you like Game of Thrones, you will love this. Trust me, you will love it. The good thing about this one is that it's not as many characters as the Game of Thrones has, so it's a little bit easier to keep. It's a little bit more streamlined. It's not that many people to like keep a hold of. Like you don't have to know a full kingdom of like a million different characters. It's less characters, which makes it a little bit easier to get a grip of the story and the characters. And it's just such a good book. Such a good book. Or book series, trilogy. I started using this Minotaur, this shade here. It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Okay, speaking of fantasy, this is something that I bought. Do you do this? I buy books based on the cover. They say don't judge the book based on its cover, but listen, sometimes you can. I bought this one. This is Över Näktergalens golv. In English, I'm pretty sure it's called Over the Nightingale Floor. I'll link it down below. This is the author I talked about before, Robin Hobb. She lives in Alaska. This Leanne Hearn, it's also a woman writing fantasy, and it's also a taken name because she did not want her name to be associated with the fantasy because she was writing something else before. Leanne Hearn is also a woman. Don't remember her name, but she is, I'm pretty sure, British. I'm pretty sure she is British. But Over the Nightingale Floor is a fantasy that is also an epic love story. And it's also a fantasy that's not necessarily too fantasy. It is mostly about intrigues and love and feuds between families. And it has one of the most beautiful names. The woman, the main character's love interest, is called Kaede. I don't know how to say that in the correct way because I'm guessing it is a Japanese name because this love story is set in Japan. And this fantasy is so special because I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, you have to read this series. This is also a trilogy. Actually, I think it's more than 3 books. I think she came out with, because I've read at least 4, is there even 5? It was meant to be a trilogy, but they came out with more books. But it's more than 1 book. But start with the first book. And I told my mom, after I've read the first 3 books, I told my mom, Mom, you have to read this series. And she was like, what is it? I'm like, it's fantasy set in old time Japan. And she's like, I don't like fantasy. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you will like this one. This is such a unique and wonderful way of writing. And it is fantasy, but not in an obvious way. Not in an, how do I say, like, not in a like Dungeons and Dragons kind of a way. It's so subtle. It's so subtle, and it's just a wonderful way of creating suspense, creating something beautiful, creating something different, a way of just capturing this wonderful love story. And it is, yeah, it's just a wonderful series of books. And when I was in Japan, Nightingale Floor, I don't know, Floor of the Nightingale, I have no idea. A nightingale floor is a wooden floor that is built in a way that you cannot walk on it with it keeping silent. So it's a way of keeping, you know, attackers away because they cannot sneak on your floor because it will sing like a nightingale. And only if you live there and only if you study how the floor sings are you able to walk on the floor without it making any sounds. Otherwise, it will sing like a bird and it will give away your presence. When I was in Japan, we visited the old royal palace in Kyoto, and when I walked over the old wooden floors, it sang like a bird. Oh my god, I just miss traveling so much. And I remember standing on the floor. I took a picture of it and I sent it to my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm on a Nightingale floor. It's a great book series. I really miss traveling. And I miss my mom. I really want to do this Sphinx because it is like a peach to green to gold to blue. It's everything. It has everything. And I'm just so excited. I want to wear it all over. I'm gonna take like a pretty wide flat brush. This is from the Cleonut brush set. And I'm gonna do the Sphinx, which is just so pretty. Oh, so pretty! Look at that. Do you see the green to peach? So pretty. I'm gonna spray it though because I feel like I need to. Do I need to? Probably not, but I'm gonna spray it so that I can... Oh, that is so cool. Maybe I should just use my fingers. It's almost like just green on the eyes. But yeah, I see the peach here. Such a cool shadow. That is just so cool. I love that. I see like the blue-green, but I see the peach tint on the border here. So pretty. Okay, this is the last book that I'm gonna mention. And this is a Swedish author. This is Johanna Hildebrandt, and she wrote a lot of books based on... She made fiction on the Norse mythology. So if you're interested in Norse mythology, I definitely recommend her books. I don't think all of them are available in English, but I will find wherever I can and I will link it down below. This is the first one she wrote. This is the Freya one. And this just opened up a whole other different category of books for me. The category of like more historical, because this is written in an old time and it's not really fantasy. Even though Norse mythology in it of itself is like fantasy, this series isn't that. It is the love story between Freya and Thor, and it is not necessarily like Norse mythology like that, but it is just interwoven in just a wonderful way, and it is about Sweden in the olden days. Oh, look at that shift! It's about Sweden in the olden days, about how life was, what people believed in, and just a wonderful, wonderful book series. This is also more than one books, but whatever you can find from her that is written about like old Sweden, definitely recommend it. It is just such a good read. I will try and see what I can find down below because yeah, it is just wonderful, and it also really opened my eyes to Swedish authors. I hadn't read that much about Swedish authors, but we have some great authors in Sweden that write really good things, and Johanna Hildebrandt is definitely one of them. I definitely recommend. You know what? Maybe I want to use a little bit of the Minotaur here. I definitely recommend reading what she has like written. Do I want to use some black? I love black. Let me do some black. Oh yeah. Black is always a good decision. Do you know what I kind of want to have? Oh, I love that. I kind of want to have a pastel pink matte in my inner corners. I'm gonna go and see where I can find that because I feel like that's what I want to have. Oh, that smokiness. Look at this eye look. Oh, this palette is so wonderful. So wonderful. Oh yeah. Let me try and finish this up, but yeah, 1,000,000% recommend her books about Sweden in the medieval times and like Norse mythology. They are so well written. These are fiction and they are great. I will mention another Swedish author as like a bit of a bonus at the end. Bit of a bonus at the end. I'm gonna finish this look up and I'll mention a other Swedish author that I really love. as a bit of a bonus. Now I'm just really making the smoky because I cannot be stopped. I'm beginning to be finished with my look. I did use some ColourPop Prance. This has been my favorite eyeliner from my waterline for 4 years. Could be. I'm also using another pair of the Rockwell lashes. These are in Moonbeams. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite lash brands. I have now tried 2 of the lash styles and they are immaculate. I wish that they were easier to get a hold of in Europe. Like a lot easier, because they're not easy at all. My dog just went to sleep on the floor next to me and is using my sweatpants as a pillow and just living his best life. I'm gonna use one of the shadows in the Miss Bliss. You know, these tie-dye palettes that came out from ColourPop last year. I'm just gonna use this pastel pink here in the corner. And I'm gonna use that as just an inner corner highlight, I hope. Yeah, that is exactly what I was after. I love a berry pink moment together with a pop of blue, and then this like beautiful like duochrome, almost like multichrome on my lids. Stunning. I don't know if you can see any of the shift. Yeah, you can. Ugh, just love it. And I really felt like having a matte inner corner, so I'm happy that I reached into another palette. Don't be afraid to mix palettes with each other, even like unexpected palettes like these two, to get what you're like after, to get what you are like feeling for the day. Don't let brands tell you what you should be loving for today. Okay, I think that is it. I'm actually just gonna finish it up. I'm using one of the lip clays by Kaleidos. This is Adobe. Did I say it correctly? Is this what I'm going for? Yeah. I'm wearing this, I have committed, and then I'm gonna talk about the Swedish author that I also recommend you to check out. Okay, so everything is ready and done. This is what I look like for today. Pretty pleased with it. Again, I will leave everything down below, all the details, again, and the books as well that I've been talking about. The last I want to mention is just an author to keep an eye for. If you love romance, if you liked, I don't want to say 50 Shades of Grey because I don't really think that that is that good of a book, but if you like that genre, you know, a little spicy, there is a Swedish author that's named Simona Arnstedt. I will link her down below. Some of her books has been translated to English. She is a great, way better than the Shades of Grey author, romance writer, and she is Swedish, and she had a trilogy of romance books set in the old age of Sweden. Again, a mix between fiction and history. Awesome books. I don't know if those are like in English. I will try and see what I can find down below. Awesome author, 1,000,000% recommend her. She writes very good books, and she also has books written that are more in modern time. And those are also set in Sweden. Don't know which books are in English or not, but I will find it down below and I will link it. But I definitely recommend looking out Simona Arnstedt as well. She is a great author. Not life-changing, because I don't think that anything within the romance really can be, but it is a great author and I really recommend her. She's like the perfect book to bring on a vacation. Or well, like when you're having a night by yourself to like, you know, lean back and read a good book. I really recommend it. But yeah, those were my picks. Let me know. What are your picks? What are the books that change the way you pick books, the way you recommend books, the way that you feel about books, books that you still in your mind refer back to years later? These are my picks. I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video that is going to be tomorrow. Bye!